Hey guys, this is Warwick back for another game of casual chess. Here today with a 5-minute game. It looks like I'm playing an opponent from Indonesia. He's opened with e4 and I think I will respond with e4. The other day we had a pretty successful game in the Sicilian, but I think we'll play the 3 knights today, or maybe even the 4 knights opening. Okay. I think I'm going to develop my bishop out here to b4. I'm playing as the black pieces today, and I think I'm going to go rather defensively. I'm looking at something like d6 rather than d5. My main focus in this game though is actually going to just be to play a bit more quickly than usual. I'm often a bit slow in my moves. As many of you would know, you would have seen me run out of time a couple of times. So today, yeah, it'll be a faster game. I'm not too worried about a move like bishop to g5 or knight to g5. I'm happy to lose that bishop on the e6 square if need be. But I may play something like queen to d7 so that I'm less worried about the pin of this knight on f6 with that bishop, for example. Okay. I may try now to disrupt his pawn structure by taking that knight on c3. That will get my bad bishop trapped over this side of the board into the game, or get him off the board rather. But I may hang on to it for now because I am pinning that knight to the castle, the rook. Okay, I'm gonna play something. Look, I think I'm gonna play knight to g4 and attack his bishop. If I could get that bishop out of the game, I think I'd be fairly happy. Okay, I'll take there. And now I think I will try and trade off that bishop. I have a tendency to trade pieces off the board at the moment. The main reason for that is because I'm not as confident as I might otherwise be in my ability to make the correct moves with a lot of pieces. I'd rather just trade them off the board when I think I can get a good trade. Hopefully as my game improves I'll be able to improve my ability to keep someone on or keep them off the board, but we will see. We're 12 moves in now, 90 seconds into the game for me, and it looks like my opponent's about to be pretty well equal on time. He is more highly ranked, ELO wise, but my ranking I don't think is really settled yet. If takes on the f5 pawn with his e4 pawn, I think I'm going to play something like rook takes f5, just so that I can leave a space on the f8 square to develop my other rook into the game, line them up along that file. However, the fact he's taking so long might suggest he's actually not going to make that move. Hopefully we will soon see. It's definitely taking a while with this move here. I'm wondering maybe he's lost connection, maybe he's got a phone call or something and he's going to resign from the game. Just running ahead in possible moves though, imagining he does take the f5 pawn with his e4 pawn. That will undouble his pawns on the e file, and I suspect a follow-up move, something like knight to g5 might be played, threatening my bishop once I retake with the knight. That'll probably mean that I have to get rid of my bishop, and it might make my b7 pawn more vulnerable in the long run to this long-range bishop he's currently got on g2. Hoping that is not going to be the case. So perhaps now then, if takes on f5 with the pawn, retake with the bishop, might keep my bishop in the game a bit longer. I think I will still have time to develop my rooks. Yeah, I think I will still have time to develop my rooks both onto the F file, get this A rook across eventually, and then I can leave that knight on C6, protecting it with the queen, and have less of a worry about that. Okay, still hasn't moved yet. I really am wondering what's taking him so long. Perhaps he thinks that I'm going to resign if he makes me wait. I have to say, I do hate when players do that, but perhaps he's got a good excuse. We will never know. Now, either way, I think I should have this game in the bag. Even if he's to play in the next couple of seconds, he'll have about 45 seconds to go, whereas I've got 3.5 minutes, so plenty more time for me to think. Just looking at the board overall here, I think we are fairly even in terms of development. He does have the pawns double stacked on the E file, but in terms of center control, that's not too bad. Even keeping that pawn back on E3 allows something like a C4 advance of this pawn to your head. Okay, well, look, we'll run into the analysis of this game. It looks like he is going to run out of time, and we'll see what analysis says now about who's winning this game. I would say it is my opponent at this point, but it'd be interesting to see, and if I could have made some improvements with my development. Okay, that's a game win by timeout, which is kind of a shame, but was he a good sport? He probably was not, I'm afraid. I won't report him. He might have had a good excuse, but we'll play him in another game, maybe in future. Otherwise, let's head to the analysis for now. Okay guys, we are back for the analysis now. So, looking at the top right hand corner rather, we can see my opponent's accuracy was 85.3, that's pretty high, and mine was 93.8. Now I think that's probably a bit skewed from what you'd normally expect, just because the game was so short, only 12 moves. No brilliant moves for each of us. 5 best moves for me, 4 for him. 1 excellent for me, 0 for him. 2 good moves for me, 4 for him. And a couple of book moves for each of us. Now, no inaccuracies, mistakes or blunders on his side of the board. No inaccuracies or blunders on my side, but I did have 1 mistake. It'd be interesting to see where that was, because I managed to get 1 mistake and still have a higher accuracy overall than him. The game is going to be described as balanced. Neither player had an advantage, according to chess.com's analysis. By checking out the graph here, it did look like I began to have some advantage towards the about 8th, I think, move, that is. So let's check that out. Okay, skipping ahead, I played F5, and it says that that's actually the mistake. I've gone from negative 0.86 in my favour to plus 0.32. So it's suggesting that F6 is actually better there. I played F5, the reason being I was hoping to open up that F file to get both of my rooks stacked up on there. But I suppose if I think ahead now, there's no real reason why he couldn't eventually stack up his rooks or even his queen over on the F file himself. So while I was looking for an advantage there, I don't know that it really achieved that. It looks like something like F6 protects his knight from F3 going to G5. And that might have been good, keeping his knight on that square for longer and not giving him an option to remove that pawn on E4. Because keeping that pawn on E4 would just lock in that bishop to, I guess, a worse section of the board. I think that is the idea there. So I played F5, and the best response there was Ng5. We'll run through this line here. So Ng5, F4, playing further up the board. I probably wouldn't have played that personally. Takes, and then queen down the board to H5. Now obviously there's a way out here, or a way to protect myself, but it does make me a little bit more vulnerable. It allows that bishop that I had on E6 to be traded off the board, and of course once retakes, who's really better? Yeah, he could retake here, I could retake there. In a situation like this, who's really better? I'll leave that up to you. It's probably about equal. It certainly didn't use the full advantage that I probably had, even though that advantage was about -1 at best. He's got quite good development, and we've both got good mobility. I'd potentially probably rather have a bishop in the end game though. And it didn't have to play out that way, it could have played out differently. So anyway, looking at the time per move, my opponent wasted almost his entire time on that last move, of course, and he did run out of time. It looks like I spent a reasonable amount of time on move 9 though. Move 9 being knight from f6 to g4. That actually was slated as the best move by the analysis, so I'm pretty happy with that and probably not too worried that I spent that extra time. My opponent's longest time thinking, other than his last move, was on move 8. So he played rook to e1. Well, I don't see that as a bad move, but I just don't really see the purpose of that, and I personally would have kept my rook there, probably on the f-file, looking to play something like f4 later, if I was him. It's saying that Be3 was best. Be3, Ba5, h3, B6. This is shuffling around my dark squared bishop a lot. And then Bg5. Now I don't understand why he originally would then play, according to the analysis, Be3 and then Bf5, Bg5. But look, I'm not a computer, I'm not Stockfish. Either way. Look, you live and you learn, but unfortunately not much to learn from that game. It ended very quickly. I'm pretty happy with that though. I did make that one mistake, that f5, and I think a little bit more depth of analysis would protect me from a mistake like that. Although I would say that it's only lost about the equivalent of roughly 1 point advantage. Not a big deal, especially when you're playing games with this level of rating. But look, with that, I think we'll call it quits and maybe move on to another game another day. I wouldn't say plenty to learn from that one, but a couple of lessons in there that I could lock down. And we're up above the 1407 rating, you can see. Broke that 1400 barrier. Next stop 1500 hopefully, and we might play this guy again in future if he is willing. Alright, we'll catch you in the next one guys. Thanks for watching.